Yo, yo, yo. Hello, everybody. Another Tuesday, another live stream. I am a bit under the weather, as I'm sure you can hear. But we are going to push through. I don't know how long the stream will be today, even though we do have quite a few things to do and to talk about. And we are going to take a slight detour from what I posted on the title and the agenda because, see, things are not going well here. My kids, man, they bring home everything. They bring everything. I'm just trying to live my life. That's all I'm trying to do. They're bringing home colds. They're bringing home all this shit. Just nasty. So I got hot off the press prop logic in Etch, and I was like, You know, people will probably like to see a sneak peek of that. So we will do that. Let's go ahead and say hi when you arrive. What's up, what's up, what's up? Stripe Goat in the house. OG. Okay. Visual Grid, Peter, Cedric, Lusk. Jason's here. Klaus is here. Lucky Creative. Peter Heck. Donata. Carl is here. Fat Cat Design is here. Andre's here. Aaron's here. Morning from Texas. I'm a Texas fan. I do like some Texas. Thing going around will last about 2 weeks. One day you'll feel better. The next day you have a setback. I don't have setbacks. That's not what I have. I'm not about the setback life. I just move forward. That's it. We only go forward here. I am not susceptible to setbacks. All right. So let's do the Etch thing first. Let's look at, hot off the press, some prop logic. And I think in order to do this, I will build a new section intro component because the one for the patterns website has to be, let me see if we can screen share here. The one for the patterns website has to be refactored. A lot of these actually have to be refactored now to kind of bring them up to speed with all the new the new capabilities. Jeez, this is going to be a rough one, guys. Intro. Oops, I clicked the wrong thing. Introductions. Section intro. Let's take a look at this one. I thought I was logged in. I guess I'm not logged in. All right. This is the original right here. And I'm wondering what classes are being used here. I don't even think when I built this I was using alphas, like Alpha Bravo, yada, yada, yadas. I actually haven't really found a section intro that needs to be a Bravo, you know, like it's an intro to a section. Like what are people doing that this doesn't cover it, you know? But there are actually some improvements here to be made. So this is the new UI for it, but as you can see, nothing is grouped, nothing is organized. So we have to redo this with groups. The heading level situation uses a data attribute, which is not fantastic because you can actually do conditional classes now. Well, in some cases you can do conditional classes, but in this case you can do conditional classes. So we might as well just build this from scratch and then try to replace it. And in doing so, I can show you groups if you haven't seen groups. I can show you prop logic if you haven't seen prop logic. Well, of course, nobody's seen prop logic, but it's amazing to see how far Etch has come so quickly that we need to refactor some of the props. Yeah, exactly. What's up from Denmark? Benjamin is here. Calisthenics, I believe, is in Ireland, you know, according to his name. Got people from all around the world with us. Okay, let's go ahead and rebuild this thing. So, this will kind of give you a kind of an overview of what it's like to build a component from scratch in Etch if you are new here. But I'm going to call this section intro alpha. And we're going to go ahead and if we look at the original, you know, we've got a content wrapper and then we've got a CTA wrapper. And I'm kind of wondering, yeah, I guess that's a decent approach. So we'll just do a div. This will be our content wrapper. This will be our CTA wrapper. And then in our content wrapper, we have a heading, and then we have 2 paragraphs. And that heading is the eyebrow. And this will be like an H1, H2, very rarely would you need H3, but you know, we could make it an option. This will be the actual headline. And then this will be the lead paragraph. And then inside the CTA, we're going to have 2 links. So this will be primary CTA, and this will be secondary CTA. And that's pretty much all we need. So we have all this stuff good to go. We right click, we create our BEM classes. Now we're ready to do some styling. We also have to handle like some different variations of the layout of this, this also needs to be really converted into having tokenized media queries as well. Yeah, very, very, a lot of, and you'll see the dramatic improvements that are made with like tokenized media queries, prop logic, group prop, you know, that kind of stuff. It's really fantastic. You know, it has come a long way. And as Sathi says, Etch's components are second to none. They really are. They really are second to none. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to Style Manager, and you're going to see that I use this a lot. You know, there's no syntax for this because this feature doesn't exist anywhere else on the internet. So nobody's really had to figure out, you know, how to name these custom media tokens yet. I'm really digging this not left situation. Like it's let me kind of explain. So if you are the kind of person like me where on mobile you think everything is cleaner when it all goes to the left, like we stop. Yeah, I know you center stuff on desktop and larger screens all the time, but you know, having some stuff centered and having some stuff left on a smaller screen, it looks very janky to me. It looks very disorganized. Like if you just shove everything to the left on mobile, because you have very like little real estate and everything is pretty much stacked, right? So everything is left aligned on mobile, looks very, very, very clean. So what you do is you decide like, where is my breakpoint where everything just needs to be shifted to the left? And that, you know, that value could be whatever you want, right? But the concept is this is where everything shifts to the left. Well, guess what? Everything on the internet by default is to the left by default. Like, you don't have to tell it to be to the left. It already is to the left. You only have to tell it when to not be left. And so we create this breakpoint called not left. And this is fantastic. So you'll see exactly how this works. It's a minimum width media query. It'll be awesome. You can figure out this custom media tokens and ship it with Etch ACSS to enable disable. Well, they can't be an ACSS, but they are an Etch, and they do go with you when you copy paste components. Okay, so I'm just explaining the not left situation that you're going to see me use. And we're going to use that for like, is it centered, things like that. Okay. So first of all, let's get our basic styling. Oh my gosh, it's like my throat it doesn't even hurt. It's just like my voice box doesn't work. All right, this is the eyebrow, which clearly does not look like an eyebrow right here. But this is the literal heading for this section. Okay, and this is the best way to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do font size text S. Okay. We will do text transform uppercase. You don't have to style it this way, but you know, this is it kind of just makes it obvious that that's what's going on here. And usually give it a little letter spacing like 0.025 M, something like that. Okay, there's your eyebrow. And then this is actually the heading. So we would add either the H1 or the H2 depending on the situation. Or the H3, I suppose, but very rarely would you need an H3. Let's do an H2 for right now. Now, in automatic CSS, and what's interesting about this is, I like trying to make a pattern library that is framework agnostic. You know, I originally wanted to do that. I'm to the point now where I'm like, you know what? If you're not going to use automatic CSS, if you're not going to use a framework, like this pattern library is built with a framework because building things without frameworks is dumb. So like, let's just stop being dumb. And I'm just gonna like, do you know how much has to be done to make this thing look like an H2 without a framework? Like literally this utility class of H2, I can just move on with my life. Do you know how many properties I would have to account for to make this framework agnostic? Do you know how much extra work would be required to make this framework? It's stupid. It's just absolutely stupid. So I'm running out of patience for it. I don't think that we're going to be doing this for much longer. All right, where is, what has, oh, okay, hold on. I need to, did I zoom in? I was like, what in the world? Okay, my screen zoomed in on me. All right, let's get the content wrapper. Let's do flex column, and let's at least gap this stuff out. Give it a little content gap action. And then the CTA wrapper, we just want to do like a flex row for right now, and we'll do content gaps probably a bit much. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to do, we'll do like one character. We'll do one character of a gap. All right, and then let's get just some placeholder stuff. So this is the marketing headline for the section. All right, and then this is the literal heading. Bam, literal heading. And then this can just be some lorem text. So let's do like lorem 30. Maybe a little much, I don't know, whatever. Okay, these are, I'm just gonna keep these as links and people can style them as they see fit. We'll probably use the new class prop for them. But this is, guys, this is a section intro. Like it's fine, it's responsive, it does all the things it needs to do as a left aligned section intro. Well, except for, let me do this. This is always, typically what you wanna do is you wanna take this content wrapper and max inline size it of probably like 70, yeah, probably like 70 characters. Somewhere between 60 and 70 is the optimal reading length for a line of text on the internet. So this number always, anywhere between 60 and 70 is probably pretty good. You can also, if you want them to be tighter, 40s, 50s, 30s in some cases can work. But for like a general section introduction, 60 to 70 is a good range. Okay. Now this variation of the section intro is done. Now we want to make it obviously a component now. So we're going to right click, create component, and we're going to figure out, what kind of stuff needs to be grouped together. And I actually want to get you guys to vote because there's a few different ways to handle grouping and logic. And I honestly, I haven't experimented with it enough to have a definitive opinion. So what I'm going to do is kind of show you both ways and let you guys vote. And I think we should all decide together. We should try to figure this out together. And so I'm going to start with one way, and then I'll get your feedback, and then we'll change it up just a little bit. And there's something you need to know about grouping props in Etch with regard to the prop keys. That I'll show you as well. When you're moving stuff around, you have to do a little bit of refactoring, which is normal. Yeah, it's important to know, but it's good to see how that works too. And it's also very easy. So I'll show you some shortcuts and things like that. So what we're gonna do first is let's group things. Okay, so I'm gonna add a group prop, and you see the new condition prop is here. That's what we're gonna be working on. Now these, to be fair, these are not really props. They're essentially like ways to interact with props. But I'm going to add a group, and our group is going to be content, okay? And so inside of our group, I'm going to have the text, just like I normally would. So this would be the eyebrow, and this would be the headline, and this would be the lead, okay? So that is our three things. And mapping them is exactly the same. We still have this little target, so you can literally just click and click and click. Okay, very easy, like even a monkey can do it. Not difficult. And once you've clicked on each one, kind of just refresh it. It's all gonna be like, okay, here's your previews back again. So those three things are done, and they're grouped inside of content, which of course can be minimized or maximized, right, to save space. And now what we want to do is we want to do the calls to action. Now you could do each call to action as a separate group. So you could have a primary action group and a secondary action group. You could group them all together. I believe that it's best in cases like this to have separate groups for the call to action. This is actually a separate kind of thing from the logic discussion that we're about to have. But I'm going to show you one really awesome benefit Now, I suppose you could put groups in groups also. Do we even support groups in groups? We do support groups in groups. Now, it could get a little inception-y if you do this, but let me show you what I'm trying. Let me show you the point that I'm trying to make first. And that this is the point of keeping your props very simple in how they're named and how they're labeled, okay? And so if I go with a group and I do primary CTA, I can add very generic props, okay? So check this out. So we're gonna go text, and I'm just gonna say label link. I don't have to say primary CTA label, primary CTA link. Label and link live in primary CTA. And so I already know that this is the label and link for the primary CTA. I don't have to repeat the names over and over and over again, okay? Now I can also duplicate that structure and just say secondary CTA, and that it's done. The label, the link, these belong to secondary. It's done. I don't have to name these secondary CTA labels, secondary CTA link. I can use very generic names for these, which is very, very nice, okay? Now, here is the main question. Like I'm pretty set on that this is the best structure for doing this. Like each little thing gets its own, is a group in itself. Now, here is the question, okay? There's gonna be some options for this section intro, right? We have like the layout, okay, whether it's centered or left aligned as an example. We have whether we show the lead or not show the lead. We have whether we show the primary CTA or not show the primary, show the secondary or not show the secondary. I'm not gonna do it all yet. I'm just gonna kind of throw the Booleans in here and then propose a question to you. And I want you to think about it. Maybe don't answer like immediately. And I'll talk through maybe some of the pros and cons, okay? But this is really, we need to kind of decide on like, what do we think is best practice here? So if I go add a Boolean, and I'm gonna add a Boolean to this group, okay? So here's my Boolean. So I'll say show, and I can put this at the top, okay? And then I can also do the same thing here. And notice, because of the way that I've grouped things, even my Boolean can be so generic. Like it can be so generically named because we know that this show is for the secondary CTA. This show is for the primary CTA. That's very like logical. It's very, very nice. Now, when I do prop logic, okay, if I have the Boolean inside of the group, the logic will be on the other two inputs or the other inputs that are on here. So this is one method. Now there is another method where I could create a group called settings, okay, or options. And I could put the prop keys in here, okay, and you're gonna get a warning because they're duplicates now. And then I could have other options as well, but watch this. So show primary CTA. Show secondary CTA. And now if I put these in an options group, we would wrap the entire primary CTA group with logic and the secondary CTA would be wrapped with logic. And so these entire groups would disappear if these toggles are off. So that is the fundamental question, right? Now I have to name them specific. Okay, they have to have specific names now, show primary CTA, show, they can't be generic anymore. And then there's the question of, do we want the entire group to disappear when you're using the component? Or do we want the group to exist and have these things still organized in the group? Okay, I'm gonna go back to what we had before to kind of show you. So this would be bam, bam, okay? And now I would only use the logic to hide the other inputs that are in this group, but the group would always exist and the toggle would always live inside the group. So what do we think? What are we leaning towards? What are we thinking? Now, we can build it one way and see how it feels, okay? But what are we thinking? What are we thinking? Put in the chat which method you think would be best. And it would be creating a principle. Like the principle would be, hey, the Boolean should live in the groups with the things that control the stuff in that group, or the Booleans live outside of the groups and they control the visibility of the entire group. Can the groups themselves be toggled? Can the groups themselves be toggled? So the logic, as you're going to see, is very much like logic in element land over here, where you can do literally whatever you want with it. So you can hide groups, you can hide things inside of groups. We should have, by default, a toggle on the groups. I don't know what that means. I don't like hiding shit from myself, so I say toggle on each. Okay. Cedric says options group. C says in the group. David says in the group. I think grouping the concerns into one group, all primary stuff inside one is better because there are zero confusion, less name matching. Okay. Toggle on in the group, in the group. Somebody says options group, less clutter with the options group. I don't know if there is less clutter. Somebody says outside in the group. Why can't you have both? I mean, you could have both. That would be over engineering in my estimation. You just have a lot of extra logic for no reason. All right. I don't know. People are torn. People are torn. All right, let's do it in the group and let's see how it feels to use it. Okay, let's do it in the group and see how it feels to use it. So what we're gonna do is first, let's get the logic working. So one thing you have to understand is that the logic here, conditions for props, are conditions for showing or hiding props. They are not conditions for showing or hiding elements, okay? Showing or hiding elements happens in the DOM, in the structure, in the markup. Showing or hiding props just happens visually in the prop panel over here, okay? They are not, this does not control what happens in the DOM. It only controls what happens for the user who is using the component, okay? One thing that you should know. If I want to hide the CTA, I don't need to see an empty group with no fields. Well, it wouldn't be an empty group. It would still have the toggle in it. And that is kind of a visual indicator of, hey, there is a primary CTA. If you were to turn it on, you would get the other props for it, but it is currently turned off. And that may be a more clear UI pattern and UX pattern than having an options group where maybe you can't even see the options group because of the scroll point on the screen. And so at first glance, you don't even realize there's the option of a secondary CTA, you know, without having to go reference the options group. That to me, it creates a little bit of a disconnect. The options group creates a little bit of a disconnect. Whereas if I put the Booleans in their groups and I just hide the things that are in the group with the Boolean, at least we always know that group exists. We always know that group is an option. We always know something can happen there. That may be a much clearer pattern for people. Like this is the method I've been leaning toward, which is why I'm going to start with it, and then we'll see how it goes. Now, of course, you can do it however you want. Like, you know, we're not deciding on making this. We're not going to be like, oh, well, we're not going to allow them to do it the other way. You can do it however you want. I'm just trying to figure out what is probably best for most scenarios. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get the actual logic working, right? So we're going to take this and we're going to say wrap in condition, wrap in condition. Now, what's great is you can just right click and copy these keys now and literally just drop them in. So for the primary CTA, I can come over here, right, to my if condition and I just drop that prop in, okay? And then I come over here, I right click this copy key and I paste that in. And now suddenly I have working logic for those buttons. Very, very easy, very, very simple. And if you're like, yeah, I love that. I've seen that before. I've done that before. I really love that. Well, guess what? Logic and props works exactly the same way. It's literally a duplicated UX pattern. Okay, so this would be if primary CTA, actually primary CTA. The if is already there by default. And I would highly recommend naming your conditions over here because it makes, like, especially when these are collapsed, you can still see what's going on inside there. It's not just some rando condition. Okay, so the conditional logic for that is done. Now what we're gonna do is add the conditional logic to the props so that when we are, and by the way, let me do label here, and we'll do label here, okay? So that when we are, did I do something wrong? Label, click me, prop CTA label. I don't know. Let's refresh and see what happens. There we go. Yeah, okay. It's a little hiccup there in the preview. So if we're not showing the CTA, we don't want to show these props, right? So here's how this works. You click, you add a condition, you get your condition, and then this is going to be the, like, naming these is going to have to be a decision, right? How do we name these? Like, the name doesn't actually matter. It's just like, what would make sense? What would make sense? Primary CTA, I'll just, content. Is it content? Is that technically what it is? Now, when I can drag this in, which is nice, okay? So you can just grab, you can drag in, so you get a label. The label and the link are now in here, okay? And now what we do is we click this, and we get the same exact little input that we just had over here in the sidebar, essentially. And so I'm just gonna copy that key, and I'm gonna paste that key in here. I think we need to add some logic to strip the brackets, because I don't think you need the brackets here. And that's it, okay? So we're just gonna show the content. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save, and I'm gonna exit, okay? And we'll get rid of our AI chat here. Let's bring this to this sidebar so you guys can see it better. Oh, looks like we have some gapping to work out here. But look at this. So now if I hide the CTA, the primary CTA is gone, but so are its props. Now what's left is I have the group and the button. Clearly these are linked together, okay? So I can always see that that's still an option. And if I want to turn it on, I get my props back, right? If I turn it off, I lose my props and I lose the CTA. To me, this is very clear. Like it really doesn't get any clearer than this, right? So all this works, bam, bam. Now we go in, we say edit component. I'm just gonna do exactly the same thing. So again, add condition, we'll say content. I'll go ahead and drag these things in. So there's that, and there's that, label and link. And then I'm going to right click, copy this key. I'm going to paste it in here. We don't need the braces, and it's a done deal. So I go back out. We now have secondary CTA gone, and the props are gone for that too. Now you're probably noticing that you have the wrapper left over, and you're like, oh my gosh, what do we do? I don't want a blank wrapper. We've turned off both CTAs, but we still have a wrapper. What are we gonna do about that? You know, have no fear. Have no fears. Step number one is have no fear, okay? Take our CTA wrapper and wrap it in a condition. And we'll just say CTAs. Like, you know, whatever you want to name it, it's fine. CTAs, okay? And we're gonna take this key right here, the primary CTA. We're gonna paste that in. And we're gonna do a little OR statement. And we're gonna take this one too, okay? Copy this key too. And paste that in. And we're done, okay? You literally are just like, hey, look, if the primary CTA is on or the secondary CTA is on, go ahead and show this wrapper. But if neither of them are on, we don't need that bad boy, right? And so it's a done deal. So if I turn these off, I also lose the wrapper. It's that easy. It's that easy, okay? So very, very flexible. We don't have any nonsense, no shenanigans going on behind the scenes. But to me, this is very clear that, like, okay, I can clearly see these are options, right? It's not like I have to go to some secondary options area, options group to look at what all my options are. I just see them right here. It just feels very, very clean, you know, very clean. Now we would do the same thing with the lead, for example, okay? So let's say I wanted to hide the lead. Now how I group these originally, you have to determine, you know, is that the best? Should lead be its own group since it's gonna have an option toggle? Should it just be its own group? Okay, so what would that look like? Well, we could create a group and we could call the group lead. And then we would put the lead in that group, but we would also add a Boolean here, okay? And we would say show, right? And again, I can be very generic with the names now because of the way that I'm grouping things. And now I can bring this back into wherever we want it to live. Let's go there. Is that in the content group? We need to work one with our accuracy on how these this is one thing we're trying to improve, this patterning of how I'm able to drop things around. I think it does work better if we have it collapsed, but we need more of an indicator line. There we go. That's much better. Okay, that's much better. So now the lead disappeared. Why did the lead disappear? Because its key changed. When you put it in a group, its key is going to change. So you copy the key, paste the new key, right? You'll get your lead back. But now I have a lead group and I have the ability to show the lead or not show the lead. And now what I can do, well, I need to add that condition here. So we're going to wrap in condition. We're going to grab the key for that prop and we're just going to paste it in. And we're going to say lead. Okay, so this is if lead, and then the lead is inside it. And now we have a working toggle of whether we're gonna show or hide our lead. Very, very simple. And now I just wanna clean up the prop visibility for our users. So I'm gonna drop in a condition and say, I'll just say content again. Like, I don't know, I don't care. Now dragging into conditions does not change the keys. So you do not have to do anything to the keys if you're using conditions. But now what we're going to do is just take that same exact key. We're going to open this up and we're going to drop that in. And so now immediately I will get proper visibility on bam, showing or hiding the lead. I lose the prop and I lose the lead, but I still have that group. So I can see, hey, there is an element here or content here that can be shown or hidden. And then here's the thing for it when you want to do it. Okay. And I can bring my CTA back or this CTA back. This seems all like a very clear pattern to me. Now, what I would also do here is say, remember our eyebrow, we need our heading level, right? So I'm gonna add a select prop. We're gonna call this heading tag. And I'm just gonna determine what my options are. H1, H2, or H3. Those are gonna be our only options. And so I'm just gonna leave that as the third prop right here. And now what we want to figure out is how we're going to actually handle that logic. And actually, it's if we just do H1, H2, which I think are most, like that's 99.9% of use cases, I think we can do it with a ternary and we just use one little logic line with our class and it's a done deal. Now we also have to, well, this is with regard to the styling, with regard to changing the actual tag, that's very easy. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So we're going to take our literal heading right here and you see that it is currently an H1, okay? We need this to support dynamic data. And so to do that, we're going to right click, let me zoom out here, and we're going to do convert to dynamic element. And if I convert it to a dynamic element, it is still going to be H1. It's going to use the whatever tag I had, it's going to use, but it's going to convert this into a combo box. And the combo box is going to allow me to literally take this key right here and just paste it in as a value. And so whatever the value of this select box is now going to be the value of this tag. And of course I put in H1, H2. Let me go ahead and exit here, right? So if I switch this to H2, let's go ahead and save. Visually, nothing is going to happen because I'm controlling the size, the font size with CSS. But if you see here, we have an H2. And then if I switch this to H1 and I save and I go refresh, you're going to see here, if we inspect again, we now have an H1. So I'm able to swap the tag between H1 and H2. But what I want is I want this headline to respond to that change as well, because the headline actually does need to get bigger or smaller. The eyebrow always stays the same, but this headline, which is like a fake heading, needs to respond to that change. So if I'm saying H1, this needs to look like an H1. If I say H2, this needs to look like an H2. And I'm going to show you how to do that with classes. I think I've only done this once, so we're gonna work through it together. So let's go in here, and remember, we are controlling this with the H2 class, okay? So I already have a class called section intro alpha headline, which I'm not even really using, okay? What I want to do here is I want to copy this heading tag key. Now the benefit of this is H1 and H2 are literally also the class names. And that's why when you have a well-engineered framework, stuff like this just tends to fall in your lap and it just happens. It's like, man, that's so nice. Oh, that's so convenient. Because if I add these two things as classes, I'm going to get the same design effect that I want as if I'm changing the HTML tag itself. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? Okay. So what we want to do is we want to literally just insert, whoops. Actually, you don't even need any logic, I don't think. You just insert this. Why is it doing a line break? I don't want a line break. Oh, okay. I see why. Section intro headline. There we go. Props.heading tag. So that may literally be all we need, guys. I think that's all we need. Like, let's go to H2. Bam. It's an H2. It's an H1. Remember, this tag is changing up here, but this is changing its class at the exact same time. So we have one prop that literally makes sure that our semantic heading is the correct tag and that our visual heading is the correct style. And that's a benefit of automatic CSS. That's a benefit of, Etch and making all this nice and easy. So, man, I mean, now we're going to talk about centering things. Now we're going to talk about we need a style for centering, right? Is there any questions before we go into changing the style up from left to centered and so on and so forth? Why is Kevin speaking so slow? Vince, I'm under the weather, Vince. Gotta give me a break sometimes, okay? Gotta give me a break sometimes. Okay, working with Etch components is exactly as I would have wished for as a user. That's what I call intuitive great work. Well, I'm glad to hear that. We are glad to hear that. It's what we're going for. There's one saying that we want kind of every feature to feel like, where people just go, man, this is how it should have always been done. This is how it should have always been done. That's kind of what our goal is when we're doing feature development. We can have a toggle icon by default exactly for that reason, so we don't even have to add an extra Boolean. I don't think so. I don't think so. Because again, it's not going to work the way you're thinking in your brain. I think you have to work through this a couple times and you'll see that that's not really a great thing. Not to mention, like, nothing, I don't need a toggle. I don't need a visibility icon here because nothing is, first of all, you have to determine what needs to be visible and not visible. Second of all, not everything needs a visibility switch. So having one on everything would be confusing and it would be no reason and it would potentially break UX. You have to work through it a little more and you'll realize that's not a great idea. Can you show us an example if the class didn't match the option? We'll see. Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't match the option, it's going to be a little more challenging. You can do it with data attributes, but you can also do it with a ternary. So it would look like this, I think. Let's see. So I go to the actual headline here. Okay, so heading tag dot includes, and you would say like H1. So if it includes H1, you're gonna do your H1 class, your H2 class, like this. And I don't know the exact syntax, whether these need to be. I don't think they do. I don't think they do. You could also do equals, right? Equals H1, okay? Expression invalid characters dash. Okay, I'm gonna use Etch AI real quick. Okay, we're gonna do this. So let's go tag equals props. Okay, so let's go to Etch AI and go. Is this the proper syntax for ternary in Etch? Oh, I think I might have to do it in the whole equals function. I think I have to do it in the entire equals function. So it'd be like this. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what AI spits out here. I am on local. I think AI is hooked up. I think it's hooked up. We'll see. This is 4D chess. Yeah. It's really quite flexible. I'm almost positive this is correct right here. So I was looking into ternary syntax. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, you can see the reasoning now in AI. I don't think I have on my RAG system. Maybe I do or don't. So it might be a little slower. We built a RAG system and it dramatically improves speed. But I don't think I have it turned on in this install. Will the condition prop be part of the next release? Will the condition prop be part of the next release? Yeah, that's the goal. Can we also have a toggle to make it a link or button? Makes more sense to be in the group too. You'll see how I'm going to handle that in just a second. All right. Hey, AI, where the fuck are you? Wake up. Yo. All right. Well, I'm going to go to docs.etch.com and ternary. Oh, well, that didn't. Okay. So we'll just go to dynamic data, modifiers, comparison modifiers. He starts with equals. I mean, we could just fucking see if it works. Have it. Hey, Kevin, how about you just fucking go to the front end and see if it works? What are you talking about? Equals H1. Yeah, okay. That seems correct. All right, let's go. I mean, I don't have classes that are going to do anything, but let's just go see if they're here. Oh, well, headline, H2. Wait, what did I do? Did I finish it correctly? Did I do it correctly? Headline. I didn't put it somewhere else, did it? Was I on the wrong thing? Props.content.heading tag equals H1. Okay. Sum H1, sum H2. I did it again, didn't I? Put this here. I wonder if these have to be like this. Let's just try that. Okay, go to the front end. Okay, that doesn't seem to be correct. H1 equals H1 contains. Oh, that would equal. If anybody's done this, I'd have to go reference one that I've already done. But let's check here. Last 30. Where's a ternary example? Here it is. Oh, it uses. I feel like that should be right. The only thing I'm not doing is I'm not using double quotes. Does that matter? I don't know that matters. Equals, adding tag equals. Oh, maybe I also need to exit and save here. Let's swap the value real quick and just to see. No, I'm still not getting it. I did this the other day and actually made it work, and now I'm not sure what. Let's do contains. It's includes. Props.heading.tag H1, some H1 contains invalid characters, dashes, or spaces in dot notation. Dashes or spaces in dot notation. I'm not using dashes or spaces in dot notation. So let's just ignore that. H2, save. There it is. Now it's working. Sum H2. And then if I go to H1, does it work for sum H1? There's sum H1. There we go. All right, it's working now. So that's how you would do it if you had classes that were named differently from your actual tag options. But like I said, in automatic CSS, that part of it is not required. You can literally just drop in the tag because the class name is exactly the same. Okay, fantastic. So let's go ahead and do centered styles. All right, so I'm going to create a style group. So we'll create a group called styles. Okay. Well, yeah, that's probably, and let's put this all the way at the top, which once again, I kind of need to, I think the trick here is if you collapse everything, it's easier to drag, at least for right now. There's my style group. Did that go in secondary? Yeah, I need a way, good way. There we go. I think we're out of it. Okay. So if everything is closed, it's very easy to drag. But once things are open, it gets a little confused on where the thing is supposed to live. Okay. I think, there's only going to be one style option in here, so putting it in a group might be a little overkill, but at the same time, I don't know. To my OCD, it's like, oh, everything is organized in a group now. It's nice. And then if I need to add any other style stuff here, I already have a group for it, so maybe it's fine. I'm going to use a select for this, and we'll say alignment. And my options are going to be left, which is obviously the default, and centered. And I could say centered, but I might want to just use, centered is never a value in CSS, but center is. So if I ever needed to use this as an actual value for something, maybe just having center as the option is better. You can still, by the way, have keys and values separately, like the key come first. So if you want the, you want this to be like capitalized, for example, but I'm also going to show you another option that you can do. If you don't want to do, it would be like left, like this, and center like this. So this is the like pretty label, and then this is the actual value that gets output. But this is a little redundant because we also have, you can modify the data to lowercase. So I would say if you want them to be pretty and you don't want to have all the duplication, then just do this, left and center, and then I'll show you how to use it in just a second. All right. So what that gives us is when I'm using this, I can change this between left and centered. And now all I have to do is hook this up so that it actually does something, right? So how are we going to do that? Well, typically the way that we do this is with data attributes. It's not the only way, but it is a really good way. So on the section intro alpha, okay, this is the entire intro right here. I'm going to add a data attribute called data alignment. And then I'm going to drop that prop key in here. Now, I will give you a little bit of a tip. Grab the prop key before you do this. That way you're already ready to paste it, right? Data alignment equals and drop that prop key in. So prop style alignment. And what that's going to do, if we save, okay, I'll go back to the front end and show you what happened here. So we're inspecting our section and we can see data alignment equals left. Okay, I can't zoom on this. I can go in a little bit like this. So data alignment equals left. You guys can see that? Okay, good. Now it's capitalized, right? And you're like, we don't want to do that in code, right? We don't want that like that. So very easy. You just got to remember when you're adding that attribute. Okay. So let's go back to our whole section intro component right here. Section intro alpha. Now you could do that from in here. You're going to be able to find the code, data alignment. So you take this whole prop and you just go to lowercase. And now when I save, we go back out. We're going to see it's lowercase now. And I can always use it as lowercase. It will display as capitalized, but I can always use it as lowercase even without defining a lowercase value. So it's a little trick, little modifier trick. But now what we're going to do is we're essentially, and nesting makes this so awesome, guys. Nesting makes this so awesome. So I have section intro alpha, and I'm going to say when, let's zoom in here, data alignment equals center. We're going to do some things, okay? But here's the thing, guys. only on the media where it's not left. Okay, we only want this to center when things are not left. So with nesting, I can essentially put two conditions in here. Hey, none of the styles I'm about to write are gonna have any effect unless the data alignment is centered and the breakpoint is not left. Because what am I doing here? I'm making things centered. I'm making things not left, okay? So I have to do it at the breakpoint of not left, and I have to do it only when the person is asking for centered alignment. Okay, so this is the maximum efficiency of how we're creating these styles. So I do align item center, I do text align center, and actually the content wrapper is kind of, are these leads? Hold on, are these CTAs? They go all the way across. So we're not really gonna have any effect here. We actually have to do this in the content wrapper itself. So I'm gonna show you one, I'm just gonna Command X this. I'm gonna go to the content wrapper. And again, like the power of nesting is so absolutely phenomenal. I'm gonna paste this in, but I'm gonna change where this me selector lives. So instead of saying that this data alignment centered is attached to this thing, it's not, right? I say, hey, find a data alignment is centered and then select me. It's literally it's the same block of code that I wrote. And then I just switch where the thing is. Now we have to think about this for a second. Actually, hold on. Let me go to media. Let's go to custom media definitions. Okay, not left. Width is greater than 750 pixels. Okay, so that should be working. Let's see if margin inline auto works here. Okay, hold on. Something is still not working. Data alignment equals center. Okay, hold on. Did I not? Data alignment. Let's make sure there's no fat finger issues here. Data alignment. That looks like it's spelled correctly. Data alignment, 2 lowercase. Okay. Oh, I know. Okay. Sorry, I'm dumb. I'm trying to write styles for centering things, but I don't have the fucking thing centered. All right. Let's grab this. You just put this up here as an option for right now, and things will start working. Okay. Fantastic. So I don't know that I need to do that though. Let's go back here. Let's go back to where we were and see if our original. All right, there we go. There we go. That may be all we need to do. Okay, let's save this. Barring the fact that my H1 is a little out of control with its size. Let's go to typography H1. We don't need to be this correct. 114. Holy smokes. Let's go like 68 or something. We don't need to be that out of control with the H1. There we go. Okay. So I was right in the first thing I was doing, where I basically said, okay, when it's data alignment centered and when the media is not left, let's just do these two things right here. Align items to the center, text align to the center. And now we just want to check it. And look, it's going to go left at our left breakpoint. It's literally 2 lines of CSS handled everything. Handled the centering, but it only centers, when all of our things are not left. So it's nice and consistent. So a little data attribute, couple lines of CSS, we're rocking and rolling. I now have the ability to go left, centered. Now I have 2 center options, so I'll just remove. I was using one for preview purposes. So I'll just come in and take that away. And we'll save. And we'll exit. And we're pretty much done here. So I've got the ability, somebody wanted the classes on the CTAs. If I centered here, look, I got a nice little, very minimal section heading now. No lead, no primary CTA, no secondary CTA. Now I want to bring the lead in, you can bring the lead in. Still everything is responding accordingly. This is the benefit of logic happening and not having like snapshot style components, where literally everything, all the logic that I've done so far automatically works together. It all interacts together properly. Show. Okay. Let's handle the classes on here. We're going to do this with the class prop. So in my primary CTA, I'm just going to add a class prop and I'll say classes. And then in secondary CTA, I'm going to add a class prop called classes. Both those things need to live inside the condition. Guess what? You can just drag them inside the condition. This is also the benefit of having condition blocks, where we're not assigning logic to fields. When you assign logic to fields, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Because anytime you want to add another element to that logic, you're fucked. No better way to put it. What are you going to do? You got to start moving logic around, duplicating logic. With blocks, you just, oh, you want something else to have that logic applied to it? Just drag it in that block. Just drag it inside that condition. Oh, you don't want it to affect it anymore? Drag it out of that condition, okay? So I just put classes in here. And now what I need to do is link that up. So I'm just going to grab the key, and I'm going to come into where it says classes, and I'm going to paste the key. I'm going to grab this key. I'm going to come into where the classes already exist, and I'm going to paste that key. And I'm done. So now, if you wanted this primary CTA to be button primary, you just add that class there. And then this could be button primary, button outline, okay? And I don't, oh, you got to do them separately. Button primary, and then button outline. Bam. Now that's the outline variant. You have maximum flexibility here because you can literally just pop classes onto things. By the way, this is all a temporary UI right here. This UI that you're looking at for using the component is very temporary. It's next on the list to be updated to look like the component editor looks. But this gives you maximum flexibility here for how these buttons are styled. By the way, you can even put custom classes on here, okay? My custom button. And then you have ability to write CSS for that thing, okay? So you could say like background red. You also have the mini GUI in here. You know, you could come in here and say the text is going to be white and the padding is going to be like this and blah, 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 blah. So very, very, very flexible there. Let's do button primary and button outline. Man, I mean, it's just, the amount of flexibility is tremendous. Okay. How does this look in the Gutenberg interface? Well, I mean, we can take a little trip back. It looks exactly the fucking same. And you have your styles, you know, centered or left, exposed over here. This all is still a work in progress in terms of like cleaning up how it looks, you know? This is a really awesome marketing headline. I want that to be an H2. I don't want to show the lead. No, I do want to show the lead. I don't want to show the secondary CTA though, okay? Hey, I mean, it's all seamless, guys. It's all seamless. Does this work? You might have to save and refresh. I don't know. I don't know if the class prop is completely brought over. Yeah, I don't think this is completely brought over yet to Gutenberg. But as you can see, like most of it is, it's all there except for the class prop. Class prop is a very recent thing. But yeah, I mean, the usability of the component is second to none. Even if in its current state, it's second to none. Okay. So that's your sneak peek. That's your sneak peek. You probably could have just used the H1 your class for the H1 H2 thing. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, you could just do a value. Yeah, you're correct there. You're correct. Yeah, prop logic already works in Gutenberg. Yeah, it's I mean, again, why would you be using anything else these days? So it's just no reason. There's no reason to hate yourself like that. I still see people in the Oxygen group just begging. Like they're begging for videos on how to use it. Like that's the life they're choosing to live. I'm just like, why you guys hate yourself like this? Have some self-respect. You know? I think we should move on to the new automatic CSS website. And I want to talk a little bit about the AI experience that I've been having with regard to design stuff. because I'm using AI for ideation, not like, hey, make a design because I'm going to copy it. If you guys want to move on to the ACSS, put in ACSS in the chat if you want to move on to seeing that website in progress and doing a little work on it. What else did I say we were going to do? Did I say we were going to do something else? Oh yeah, I do have to do a reminder. If you have any questions about what we just did with this component, I can answer those before we move on, or just write ACSS in the chat and we can move on. Zach, would it still work for the dynamic element then? Yes. Oh no, yeah, that's correct. So Zach, it wouldn't work. That would break the element at that point. Yeah. So you got to do it with the ternary that I showed. Okay, we're ready to move on to ACSS. So let's kill this. Let's kill all of our other stuff. Okay, that's all good. Let me pull up, let's go to Rocket and go to here. You just log in, it's fine. Okay, here's what I've got so far. I got a nice little hero. Got a nice little noise effect. I don't know if you guys can see this noise. I built a noise component and shared it in the patterns library a few days ago. It's really dope, really dope. This is what we've got so far for the hero. And then I've been thinking, about the challenge involved in highlighting all the things that automatic CSS does for you, all the benefits. It's very hard to talk about because it has so many benefits. And it's like, what do you want to focus on? And what's really going to move the needle in terms of helping people understand? Because you got to remember, there's people coming here that they don't even know what a framework is really all that much yet. And then there's people who make assumptions. They make assumptions that, like, for example, oh, it's like, Tailwind already exists. Why would we need automatic CSS? They don't even realize that it's like it's like antithetical to Tailwind. It's like it couldn't be more different. It's like the exact opposite philosophy of Tailwind, right? So there's people in all different places in their journey, and there's so many different benefits and so many things that it does. And so what I'm thinking about right now is essentially explaining this in 3 phases, right? You have a setup phase. You have 100 different decisions that have to be made, like before you can even start a new project. If you're not using a framework like automatic CSS, I mean, we've talked about this before. All of the typography decisions that you have to make, not even related to size and stuff. What about colors? Well, before you can even make typography color decisions, you have to have a whole palette set up. Now you're making palette-based decisions. How many shades are there going to be? How are the shades are going to be? What are the color space going to be? What are the tokens going to be named? On and 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 on. There's just so many decisions that have to be made before you can start a project. Okay, so we need to explain that all those decisions are done for you. They're like, and not done for you to the point where you can't change them. Just done for you in a systemized approach to where, yeah, you have control over it, but it's not something you have to stress over. And explaining there, and this kind of like is the 3rd phase, adjust anytime. So you have setup now or later, you have build quickly, and then adjust anytime. Now, the fact that you can adjust anytime also translates back to the setup in the sense that automatic CSS is the only framework I know of, because I've seen people, use other frameworks, obviously. It's the only framework I know of where you can literally set up the entire thing when you're done. Like you literally could install ACSS and use it to build an entire site and then go make all the decisions regarding colors, regarding typography, spacing, literally everything, and not break anything. If you know what you're doing, if you know which tokens you're supposed to be using at the time, you can literally just set up the entire thing when you're done. So you can set it up at the beginning. You can set it up as you go, which is what I typically do, or you can set it up at the end. But the point is that that's how flexible it is. That you don't have to get everything perfect before you start. You just start working. As long as you're working according to the workflow that we teach and that we advocate for, you can adjust it at any time. You can make changes at any time. You're not going to break things. So we need to explain the setup, the fact that it's essentially non-existent. Like you don't have to make those hundreds of decisions. Not only, by the way, like let's just keep in mind, most people using WordPress, most people using page builders, most people doing front-end development in the modern era, a very small percentage of people are actually qualified to even make any of those decisions. Let me explain. I think a heading size, just a simple, this heading right here, the typography decisions involved, okay? This is a fluid responsive heading. Now, most people would pick up a project and they would say, okay, I'm gonna put in an H2. I want the H2 to be this size. And they would use, most people would use a pixel value. They would just say, I want it to be 60 pixels. And also, if they're looking at Figma, Figma's telling them that should be 60 pixels. So Figma's communicating the wrong information. And so they go, okay, I want it to be 60 pixels. But then they realize that 60 pixels is not gonna change across devices. They're gonna realize that 60 pixels is far too big for a mobile device. And so what they're gonna do is they're gonna start putting in breakpoints. And they're going to put in breakpoints using static breakpoints, not dynamic breakpoints, not tokenized breakpoints. Especially if they're not using Etch, they have to use static breakpoints since tokenized breakpoints only exist in Etch. So they're gonna use static breakpoints and they're gonna make 3 different decisions. It's gonna go from like 60 at this arbitrary breakpoint down to 48, down to 32. And so they've got 3 breakpoints for one heading. And now they're gonna do another heading. And the decisions that they make at that second heading are not gonna have any relationship to the decisions they made with the first heading. You that's one, there are 500 of these scenarios. And so the percentage of people who know, now you're gonna be like, well, Kevin, I already know that should be a clamp function. Okay, now let's say that 10% of the people who know that's supposed to be a clamp function, out of the 10% who know it's supposed to be a clamp function, I bet 1% of them know that the clamp not only should use rims on both ends, but that the middle value should be calculated with a fairly advanced mathematical formula that is related to the content width of your website. I bet probably only 1% of people know that, out of the 10% that even knew to use a clamp to begin with, right? So this is the decisions that go into, remember, if you start a project without knowing these things, what you are creating is a dumpster fire. That's what and the size of the dumpster fire is in relationship to how much or how little you actually know. And most people are creating a very, 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 very large dumpster fires. And so with automatic CSS, you don't have to know any of this shit. You don't have to know any of this shit. It's just already ready for you. And not only is it ready for you, you don't even have to set it up like to start. You can just start building and you build according to the workflow and you can adjust the thing at any time. There's tremendous value and it has to be communicated. And I think that this 3-phase approach is like, okay, we can explain setup, we can explain building, then we can explain adjusting. And by that point, they're gonna get the bigger picture, you know? So that's kind of where we're at here. Now, what this is gonna be is I created a CPT called workflow, and each step is its own page, right? So we would have the setup process. And in the setup process, this is very, very in progress right now. So don't pay too much attention, okay? This is gonna be like a checklist of all the stuff you have to set up and everything's done, you know? We're gonna just go down and visualize very like, you know, the most important things, okay, that need to happen. So here's all the stuff that's taken care of in the setup. And then I'm building this little sub navigation right here. So we can go to the build step, okay, which none of this is linked up yet. Build, right, doesn't even exist. So it's very early stages. And I was gonna maybe work on it just a little bit. By the way, I'm using ACSS's custom, I'll open this for you, right? So I don't know how many people are using this, but the custom surfaces stuff, very, very, very helpful. Very, very, very helpful. Custom surfaces, custom overlays. Like, you really got to start diving into some of the more advanced aspects of what's going on here. Custom surface right here. Custom surface in the hero section. Got our noise component dropped in there. Really, really good stuff going on here. Okay, so let's take a look at, let's see where I was going to bring up AI to show you kind of how I'm using AI. So let me get this. Can I bring this tab in here? Yes, there we go. There we go. Oh, I also want to show you how I did that color grid, which I think is very interesting. But here's I wanted to kind of give my general take of AI these days, right? Now I'm using, I switched to Claude Chat, which actually did a better job than Claude Cowork, and actually did a better job than Gemini in AI Studio. I stuck with this for a while, but I've been trying different models. I've been putting them through their paces. And my general feeling is AI is really good for ideation. It's good. Like, this is kind of like where I'm starting to go with perhaps a visualization for the palette side of things, right? And maybe something like this for the spacing. And it was starting to do a pretty decent job, right? But the idea that I would let this thing really just go off and build entire pages or anything like that, no. And most of the design that, like, I don't even think this shit's linked up. It like doesn't even work. Like, you got to go to the pages like individually back in the stream of the conversation. It's a lot of garbage. There's a lot of garbage, a lot of nonsense, a lot of very mediocre design going on, especially if you're not copying existing patterns. So with automatic CSS, we need to be able to visualize things that don't really exist in many places on the internet. So AI is a copy machine. It's a fancy copy machine. And if it doesn't have a lot of copy sources to choose from, it really struggles. It really fucking struggles. It doesn't have any imagination. It really can't. It can't do anything that it can't already just copy from existing sources. So the more creative you need to be in a lot of ways, the worse AI is going to be for you. Like, the worse AI is going to do, the less useful it's going to be. If all you need to do is copy machine shit, then it's good at that. But you have to remember the value of things in life is typically, like, the more rare something is, the more valuable it is. If all you're doing is being a copy machine, the things you're producing are of very low value. And then anybody can produce that. So that's another reason why it's going to be a very low value. So this is where when people, you hear like, designers are dead, they're cooked, no, they're not. We just don't need designers to be copy machines anymore, you know? The days of like, hey, Bev, show me what site you like. And then Bev shows you a site and you're like, okay, our designer will do something like that. But we don't need that anymore. But if Bev is like, well, we have very unique challenges with how we need to design and communicate our thing, that's where designers are going to live now. And by the way, those are all the people with a lot of money to spend because, solving complex problems like that is expensive. And so we just don't need it. It kind of goes back to what I warned in the very beginning. Remember when everybody was like, oh, nobody wants to use Etch because it's too advanced. Nobody wants to use bricks because it's too advanced. Nobody wants to learn all that stuff. Nobody wants to, the rhinos of the world. We just want to click buttons. We just want to slide the sliders. We just want to finger the sliders, Those people, if you listen to them, congratulations. Like, they made you obsolete. They put you out of a job. They put you out of work. Because that was a race to the bottom. That was always a race to having no skills. It was literally a race to having no skills. And I'm going to give you a cautionary warning in this as well with regard to the amount of code that you allow AI to write for you. Even like CSS, HTML, basic stuff, okay? But they were literally those kinds of people. Anybody who was telling you before, like, no, no code is the future. You don't want to know, you don't need to know what's going on under the hood. Just click buttons and finger the sliders. Those people got you out of a job. If you listen to them, they are responsible for your demise. The world does not need Rhino. Like literally everything he knows can be produced by AI better than him because he doesn't know what he's doing. And I'm just using him as an example because he's so arrogant in how he communicates this stuff of like the arrogance to be like, fuck coders, essentially. That's like his fuck code, fuck coders, fuck anybody who knows what they're doing. I showed up with no skills. I'm going to do this shit. I'm going to shove it down your throat. I don't care what you think. You're all that time you spent learning is wasted. You know, your fucking industry is replaced by AI. That's like literally the summary of his content. So fuck him. And if you listen to him, you have no future. Because he has no future, right? Where is the future is with the people who actually still have skills. And so this is going to be my warning to those of you using AI. The more you rely on it and use it to do the writing of the code for you, the dumber you're getting. So the more you use it, the dumber you get. And you got to be very careful that you still need to jump in and you still need to be interacting with the code. You still need to be writing stuff. You still need to be learning. You still need to be studying because you don't want your skills to degrade. And your skills will degrade rapidly the more you hand over your work to AI. And what I'm telling you, again, is because I'm doing a lot of, there is this argument like, well, it's just going to get better and better and better and better and better. That is not proven. That is not proven. In fact, there's a lot of research essentially saying that none of this is AGI. You know, we're all sitting here pretending that this is AGI. And if it was real AGI, then it would continue getting better and better and better and better and better. Because it would be like a human. It would have the capacity to truly learn. It would have the capacity to think. It would have the capacity to ideate. It would have the capacity to be creative. It would have a lot of capacities that it does not, in fact, have. Let's make that very clear. It does not have any of those things. And according to a lot of people, what you are being sold in regard to how smart and capable it can become is a fairy tale for the purposes of getting you to subscribe to the next AI engine and buy a bunch of tokens. That it cannot be as smart or as capable as they claim that it can be eventually. And there's another side of this that I've talked about, but again, there's new people here every single week, so it helps to go over it again and again and again and make sure that everybody's on the same page. I've always tried to steer people in the right direction. I've always tried to steer people to elevating their game, elevating their skills, charging more for their work, having more self-respect, doing a better job, being more professional. And so that's just part of this. That's just part of my conclusion here. Imagine a scenario. Just imagine for a moment. I'm not saying this is the scenario. Just imagine for a moment that we get a little further down. It continues to get a little better, a little better, a little better. You turn more of your workload over to it, which means you are getting less capable by the day, by the week, by the month. And after 6 months goes by, 12 months goes by, you've been doing a lot less writing of the code. You've been doing a lot less reading of the code, perhaps so you have degraded your skills significantly. Remember, it's not just not being engaged in the practice of doing it that degrades your skills. It's the fact that CSS and JavaScript, everything is getting more advanced by the day. So there's already you are not in practice, which means you're degrading your skills. Plus you are not learning the new things, which means you are falling faster and faster behind, okay? Now, that's all fine and dandy in a world of AGI where shit's just gonna become a fucking, HAL and everything's just miraculous, And oh my God, it's, my HAL is so creative. My HAL is a genius. My HAL can do everything I ask. It's just totally writing the best code on planet Earth now. Okay, whatever. That's going to be a maybe scenario that we have to figure out when we get there. That's kind of what they're selling this all as, all right? But what if the scenario is actually what I just mentioned a moment ago? that we bump into a very hard ceiling of capability. And not only have we bumped into a very hard capability ceiling, but the subsidization of the models that's currently happening, okay, in terms of cost, where, okay, something that cost $2,000 in tokens to do now costs $20,000 in tokens to do, because we're hitting the ceiling and people are realizing, oh, all right, so now they're losing customers because it's not doing the things that they actually said that it would be able to do. And they can't subsidize it anymore. So the costs have to increase. And so now we live in a world where you are a year behind in your skills or more. The tokens are too expensive and you don't know what the fuck's going on anymore. You can't even do your job anymore. You turned everything over to the dumb version of AI that's not AGI. Where are you? Congratulations, you're unemployed. Way to go. Fantastic. Fantastic. That's a major, major, major gamble. Now, the people like Rhino, the vibe coders, the AI bros, the AI bro tribe, they don't have to worry about this. Only skilled people have to worry about this. This is the heart of the message. Only skilled people can have their skills degraded. If you don't have any skills to begin with, there's nothing to degrade. So there's only upside for the AI bros. The AI bro, they already don't know what the fuck's going on. So anything AI can do is a benefit to them because they can't do they couldn't do anything without it. So doing anything with it is great. It's changing the world, whatever. But if you actually have skills, it's very dangerous to listen to AI bros because you do stand to lose. You stand to lose a lot of the skills you worked very hard to gain. And if all of the promises are actually lies or embellishments, okay, and we find ourselves in a world where AI has a ceiling and it's a very hard ceiling, and the models actually can regress. It's not like the ceiling, you guys realize the ceiling can actually go lower, right? It could slowly get lower over time to where you're bumping your head sooner, more often. Because the more slop that gets produced by the bad models, the more the new models train themselves on the slop of the bad model. That is a possibility as well. So this like, picture that's being painted for us is first of all, it's being painted by all the people who stand to gain by you believing that that is a possibility. And I'm just saying it's a big, big, big risk. Big, big, big risk, okay? So don't stop learning. Don't stop interacting with the code. Don't stop practicing. Continue to use AI in the fashion that I'm doing right here. So what I've been doing is, hey, I want some ideas. I want some ideas for how I might lay out and talk about some of these features. And so it gives me them, and I'm not having it build it for me. I'm not copying it exactly the way that it is. I put my own style tweaks on it. I put my own embellishments on it. I put my own creativity into it. Like this is the hero they gave me, where I was like, all right, that's fucking boring. That's stupid. Like, who's going to use that? And I work something up like this, so we're putting a little of our own polishing and creativity into it. But this is the same general, it's not like I came up with a new pattern. Okay. This is an existing pattern. But I did a couple things different with it. Right. And I'm building it myself. That's kind of the process that I'm going, and I'm using it in pieces. Okay. I do things in small chunks. Hey, solve this small chunk for me right here. Give me some ideas on this small chunk, and then I rework it and I build it, and then I go on to the next chunk, okay? And so I'm maintaining my skills, I'm maintaining my practice, I'm maintaining my work. By the way, let's talk about the time thing, because people are going, Kevin, time is money. Time is money, Kevin. Time is money. Just have the fucking AI build it for you, dude. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about the code. I can just repeat all the shit the AI bros repeat over and over and over again. There is a fact of life in development, okay? And the fact of life is this. The first 90% of what you're building is very easy, and the last 10% is extremely hard. And AI does not solve that challenge. And so all of the people, first of all, I will just make I have done this enough. And no, it's not my fucking prompts, okay? My prompts are just fucking fine. Here's the thing. All of the people who I vibe coded a fucking Zoom replacement in 48 hours. The fuck you did. Get the fuck out of here. I silence every single one of these people on my feed. They all should be banned. They all should be excommunicated from society. They're all fucking liars. None of them fucking know what they're talking about. They're all dipshits. Whatever name I can come up with for them is not good enough, okay? You have to understand that all of that is absolute abject nonsense. I will tell you, I have worked on Etch features using AI because I'm not a Svelte expert, okay? And I see a thing and I'm like, okay, I want to see if I can get a working version of that. I want to experiment a little bit. Basically I prototype it. I also want to play around with the UX. I want to experiment with different UIs of the feature, okay? And so I use multiple different agents and models inside of the Etch code base, right? And I do this in my own branch, okay? And then what I've done actually, because I've been testing these people behind the scenes. All these vibe coders, all these AI bros talking all this shit. I've been testing behind the scenes, okay? And I will give you the actual reality of the situation. I have used multiple models to cross-check work. I have had one model build a feature. I've had another model check the feature. I've had another model refactor the feature. That's another thing AI bros say. Well, if it's not working that great, or if it's not that good, just ask the AI to refactor it, bro. I've had 6 different models double check a single feature. And I press them. Why is it doing this? Why is it doing this? Why is it doing this? Well, shouldn't it do this? Shouldn't it do this? Why don't we do it this way? Isn't this too much code? Aren't we over-engineering it? Like literally arguing with them, pressing them, multiple models, multiple agents, one feature. You want to know the reality of the situation? Not a single feature that I have submitted in this form or fashion has been accepted by our engineering team. Not a single one. They all have to refactor it every single time. Every single time. Now, vibe coders aren't even doing that. They're not even heavily scrutinizing it. They're most often taking the first thing that comes along, or they might ask you to make a couple adjustments. But I'm telling you, I can spend hours of time with these agents trying to get to the best possible feature it is capable of doing. And that will 100% of the time get rejected by a human engineer that actually knows what they're doing. 100% of the time. Never has it not been rejected. That is the reality of the situation, okay? So you can listen to all the AI bros, you can listen to all the fucking people. Remember, none of these people, by the way, who are telling you how good it is, are coders. They don't actually do this stuff. So they're not even qualified to grade it, but they're going to grade it all the time for you. They're just going to tell you how great it is. I'm just telling you the reality of the situation. Just telling you the reality of the situation. That's where we're at. And I wanted to bring that up because of the time thing. I spend hours on a single feature with multiple agents and it's not good enough. What time have I fucking saved? Where is the savings of time? It literally could have just been, I would be better off learning Svelte. I should just put the time into learning the language that I'm using to do the things, because I can spend an untold amount of time with these agents and come away with code that ultimately gets rejected by an engineering team. Why don't I just learn the language and the principles and actually be capable at the end of the day? Actually know something at the end of the day. So this idea that but Kevin, the time is money. No, all you're doing is producing dog shit faster. And nobody really at the end of the day pays for that. They just don't pay for that. If you're going to use it to prototype things, that's one thing. If you're going to use it for ideation, that's another thing. Using it to actually do the work is a completely different scenario. And everything that you've heard about it is a fucking lie. Everything that you've heard about it is a lie. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I want to show you guys this. Because a lot of people don't, and we'll probably get out of here after this. Where would it be? Workflow arc? No, it's in a workflow setup. Okay, a lot of people don't know. So I wanted to use loops to do this. And a lot of people think that you have to go to the loop manager and create a loop like palette mockup and put some JSON in here. I can delete this. Because you actually don't. Like, this is so phenomenal, right? So if I use a look at this loop that I did. This is not finished, by the way. It's just I got like 10 minutes into this. So I created a color group and I put it in a loop. And then the swatches are also a loop where I'm just looping through every swatch. And all I'm doing is grabbing the variable BG as the color. And then I'm changing for nth child. I'm just using that color to generate shades based on the OKLCH relative color function. So this is literally like, there's a group and a swatch, and this whole like thing generates itself. But what's more interesting is the source of the loop, that you can just put an array right into the loop. Like, it's not a loop. It doesn't exist in the library. It's just, I'm just telling it to loop an array, and I'm giving it like name primary, and here's the primary value, name secondary, here's the value, name tertiary, here's the value. And then div style, I do, here's the color value, and then I do item.value because I'm looping this array as an item. So just take the item.value of each one, right? And then I wanted five swatches per color. You can literally just put an array, just say, hey, loop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it'll just 5 boxes will be produced, right? And then the background of each box is just set by the color value. So I thought this was pretty cool, that you don't literally need to store a loop in the loop manager of JSON. Like, you can literally on the fly create data arrays just like statically and loop through them. We have passed the rant count is off the charts on this one. Let's see. No, I totally agree with this, actually. I totally agree with Nick here. This is the other thing, okay? I posted about this on social the other day, where it doesn't actually matter how good AI gets if society no longer has any preference for it. So take music. AI is actually apparently pretty decent at producing music. And there's been some very interesting things produced by it. But the minute people realize, like, the idea of sitting back and listening to an AI produced album, I think most humans have no interest in that, or very little interest in it. Just like they have very little interest in watching an AI produced film in a movie theater. And so it's kind of like, I used Kindle as an example, ebook readers, where a Kindle has so many objective benefits. I can have 1,000 books in one device. I don't have to flip pages. I can just click buttons. It has an e-ink screen, so it almost looks like I'm reading paper. I can put notes. I can highlight things. I can store sections of a book, like for later to re-reference. And I could just go on and on and on and on and on. But guess what? At the end of the day, the vast majority of people prefer actual books over a Kindle. So you have an example of technology where, why hasn't it really proliferated? Why isn't literally everybody using Kindle? Because you could make the argument, why would you read a book when Kindles exist? And it just comes down to, because that's the human preference. We prefer real things a lot of times. I prefer real movies made by humans with the capacity to think and be creative. I prefer music created by real humans. At the end of the day, I want to know what my fellow human came up with for a song. I want to know what my fellow humans came up with for a movie. Just like when I get on social media, I don't want to know what AI thinks. The minute somebody, and this is like every fucking stay-at-home mom right now has been captured. They've all been captured by ChatGPT. My damn feed, the momfluencers. And I'm ragging on moms, like, you know, there's guys doing this too, obviously, but like the momfluencer crowd, I think, is for some reason more particular to this. But their posts are all written by ChatGPT, and I could tell immediately. And you know, you get on social media to hear what other people think. We don't want to live in molt book, okay? We want to live in a world where we are interacting with other humans. And so I just think the preference is going to be, I don't want your slop. And even if the slop is less sloppy, I still don't want it, because we crave what comes from other humans. I want to watch real movies produced by real people. I want to listen to real music produced by real people. I want to read real books. And I want to use software that had, like, you know, blood, sweat, tears, thought, logic, care, all this other stuff put into it that's actually taken care of by people who care. You know, like, there's just potentially going to be a dramatic lack of preference for anything produced by AI. And so this idea, this notion that, code was the gatekeeper and now code's not. So anybody with an idea can now create software. Well, one, no, that's a lie. We already know that's a lie. Number two, even if that were true, I still think we're going to live in a world where people realize, oh, you vibe coded this. I just don't have any interest in that. I just don't have any interest in your software. So, like, you have the capability to produce things that nobody wants. Congratulations. Like, that's fantastic. I hope you have fun in that economy. That's not a functional economy, by the way, but you can have fun there, I guess. That could be the reality we wake up in. What if that becomes the reality? So AI is so capable, Kevin, but nobody wants anything that it produces. So where are we left with at that? Well, we're back to where we have always been. The capable people will continue being capable, and the not capable people will continue being not capable. And this goes back to my warning earlier. You just better fucking hope and pray that you didn't listen to the rhinos and the AI bros and degrade your skill set following this down into this rabbit hole. Because it's a bunch of dead rabbits down there. And you don't want to be there. That's not the life you want to live. You gotta be very careful. Gotta be very careful. Okay. Yeah, this is true right here. This is true as well. That's the other thing. Like, it's so crazy that it's not even a basic economics argument. They don't even know basic economics. Like, well, code, you just need good ideas because code's not the gatekeeper anymore. Guys, if anybody can just snap fingers, you know, they don't need to buy your shit, dog. What you're arguing is that it's an infinite supply. Well, what happens in an economy with infinite supply? Prices go to zero. Congratulations. You're producing things that don't have any value. Because anybody can do it, right? Anybody can do it. They don't need yours. They can just do theirs. And if they decide, well, you know, they just don't want to do it. You know, they just don't want to. So they'll buy mine. That's fine. They'll buy it at a very low price. Because as that price climbs, their propensity to just do it themselves dramatically increases. So even if they are willing to pay something, it's not going to be a lot. So you're literally arguing for an economic scenario where we have a lot of supply and no demand. Well, that's just fantastic. How is that going to help anybody? How is that going to help anybody? It's just none of it makes any sense. It's all lies. It's all nonsense. Yeah. Okay, let's go into Q&A, I guess. Let's go into Q&A. Yeah, so AI music is in the same boat as AI software. The skilled musicians hate AI music, just like you hate AI, bros. That's funny. That is a straw man argument, because I did not say anything about musicians. I said people. I think it's fairly well determined and obvious that if you ask people, hey, do you want to listen to this new album fully produced by AI? Other than the fact that they would just be curious about it, yeah, sure, let me hear it. But the idea that I just don't think people have the appetite for man, I really just want to sit down and listen to what AI's produced today in the music business. We have artists that we like. We follow people. This is something people should understand about business too, brands. People do business with people. People don't do business with brands unless the brand starts with a person and then proliferates to some extent where it becomes bigger than them. So you would see this with Apple, for example. People were very, very oriented to Steve Jobs and the Steve Jobs philosophy and the things that Steve Jobs produced and Steve Jobs' ideas. And obviously Apple became much larger than Steve Jobs. But what gets people hooked on those kinds of businesses are literally the Steve Jobses, right? People are attracted to personality, and AI has no personality. So it's just, again, it's man, I don't want to see a mishmash, a mashup of what some fucking algorithm put together. I want to see what my fellow humans are creating and what they're up to. By the way, it's humans that have to continue setting the trends. AI is not capable of creating a trend because it can't do anything new. Again, it's a copy machine. It's a regurgitate. It is not AGI. We don't have AGI. So, and there's no sign of having AGI. So it's that world doesn't exist yet. Humans are literally needed to produce the next wave of things. Okay, let's go to Q&A. So you could say musicians hate AI just like coders hate AI. No, people don't like AI. I don't know a single person that goes on social media. And I'll say this. I'll say I don't know anybody that would go on social media and enjoy reading a bunch of AI produced posts on social media. I don't know what my friends think anymore. I just know what they regurgitated with an AI engine. I don't think anybody prefers that. So I make that argument and you go, well, yeah, of course influencers don't like AI just like that. And it's dude, fuck off. If you're just going to move the goalposts all day and create a bunch of straw man arguments and red herrings and all this, we have no business interacting. I don't like wasting my time with intellectually dishonest people. That's what people do all the time. It's so annoying. It's absurd. Conditions are arriving. Prop conditions are arriving this week. Let me go to #Q. We'll just do some Q&A before we get out of here. Not on favorites. Okay. All right, let's try to get these. Speaking of movies, what is your favorite comedy movie? Dude, first of all, anybody that asks me for something, I don't know, I have some sort of brain condition. It's some level of retardation. Well, when people ask me to recall something, recall someone's name, recall a favorite movie, recall a favorite song, I can't do it.
My mind blanks out. It just, it can't go through like some visual catalog of movies and be like, oh, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Or albums or artists or anything else. And it's same with math. I can't, if somebody asks me a math problem, my brain's like, whoa, somebody asked you a math. It's thinking about the person asking me a math problem so much that it can't actually do the math problem. I don't know what level of retardation that is, but I have it for sure. I have it. So yeah, on the spot, I don't know. But I like a lot of different genres. I am a huge stand-up comedy fan. So when I say out of pocket shit, a lot of that comes from like, that would be a really, like stand-ups would say something like that, you know, like that's work. And I think stand-up comedy is insanely valuable to culture. Like, you know, when we were battling the wokeness, like all of that was very important. Even the fact that I said retardation a minute ago, there's a lot of people who are, they have severely clutched their pearls. Their pearls are twisting around in their hands right now, and they're just, and you know, those people need to calm the fuck down. You know, we just need to be able to talk. We need to make fun of each other. Like we just stop taking everything so fucking seriously. Okay. All of that is very, very important for culture. So I'm a big fan of comedy. I'm a big fan of stand-up comedy. I'm a big fan of a lot of different genres. But I can't recite things when you ask me for examples. My brain just shuts down. That part of my brain shuts down. Okay, let's see. What do you think would be the best use case for AI if not sloppy code? Just what I said a minute ago, which is essentially ideation of like, hey, give me 5 ways you would approach this layout. And then look at what it produces and see if anything sparks anything in your mind. And then go with that, right? And then put your own twist on it and build it yourself. Or if you're like, if you're doing something that's so routine, okay, I want to build this hero section and I want it to look like this, and you give it a screenshot like we can do in Etch AI now, because you don't want to do the very routine stuff. You want to use your skills to do the creative aspects of it. So like, I don't want to do this layout, like. Put this in a grid. I want a box over here, a box over here. It's going to have a heading. It's going to have text, and it's going to have a button, and it's going to have an image on the right. And it does that like scaffolding for you. And then, you know, in Etch AI, obviously you're able to read the code, and the code it's trained to do it a certain way. But you can read it and verify, yeah, that's what I want. That passes. That's what we're supposed to see. Bang, insert it, and it inserts it. Now you can be busy doing the harder things and the more creative things, right? So you're using your skills at a higher level, and you're not busy doing the routine stuff. Let's see. Have you noodled around with the new Gutenberg AI features like heading, subheading, description, image generation, alt tag generation? No. I have shown people how to use AI to do copywriting. It does not save any time. It does not save any time. If you do it right, it doesn't save any time. It takes less effort, but I don't know that that's a good thing, because you're not exercising that part of your brain anymore. And I think you will get dumber. But, you know, if you're stuck, if you have writer's block, if you whatever, it is a good way to get going and have momentum. But I am concerned. With turning over like your entire process to that. If you want me to do like next Tuesday, we can do a whole AI copywriting thing, and I'll show you how to use AI for copywriting. But again, all of what people are talking about, and like, I can do copy for 18 clients now in the same time. No, you can't. Shut the fuck up. No, you can't. You don't know what you're doing. So you don't know how to write copy. So you think you can, but you're just producing slop for 18 people, because it produces trash, and you have to know copywriting principles to ask it the right questions. And then you have to realize out of what it gives you back, what is trash and what's not trash. And then you have to ask it. You have to know how to ask it to iterate on the things that aren't trash to get to better things that are actually usable. And all of that process takes the same amount of time as if you literally just sat down and did what copywriters actually do. So that's kind of like one of the main points I want to make to people is if you're using AI correctly, you're not saving time. Anybody that's like talking about all this time saving, you're fucking not saving time. You either don't know what you're doing or you're not saving time. There's no other conclusion. That's it. That's the 2 options. It took you just as long, or you don't know what the fuck you're doing. And you thought you sped it up, but you really didn't, because you didn't get to the result that is actually acceptable in the eyes of people who know what they're doing. All right, so let's see. I think we answered this. I don't know. Is there a way to have that show toggle on the same line as the group name so the toggle is instantly available and even more visible? I think we talked about that as well. It wouldn't actually be desirable. Etch plus ACSS plus Gutenberg question. Can you help us understand what causes ACSS styles to not fully apply to Gutenberg? I mean, the main thing right now is using a plugin, adding any plugin to your site that uses pre-V3 API blocks, which they're not supposed to be using anymore. That will break Gutenberg's rendering engine that we use to attach our styles. So it's a problem with third-party plugins, typically. How's the prettier linting integration coming? Only thing I'm missing lots in the Etch editor compared to VS Code. We'll tackle it at some point. I think groups should have superpowers, meaning the group itself should have a toggle to hide or show, so it's cleaner. Groups are actually hidden, show, hide, toggle by itself. It's not, though. Yeah, we already talked about this. It's not. It doesn't work the way you think. Because I actually don't want to hide the entire group. We talked about that. I don't want the group to disappear. The fact that the group is still there lets me know that those things are an option. Isn't it easier to make a repeater with a button CTA in it? By the way, if you had a visibility toggle on every group, how would you even know which ones are hooked up to show or hide the group based on whether the group needs to be shown or hidden? Because it's not just the visibility of props. This is almost always tied to logic affecting the DOM. How do you know what is hooked up to affect the DOM and what's not? Like, it's not as straightforward as some of you guys think it is. Blog has repeater fields, questions, and answers via MetaBox custom fields. I can't get the loop to fill the Etch accordion to work despite the description in the documentation. Is there a demo possible? Well, I would use I refactored the accordion. Let's edit with Etch. I'll just show you. I really think this pattern, by the way, for anybody watching who builds components, repeater props are good in certain cases. There are certain cases where they are not the be-all, end-all, okay? And you do need to know when you should use a repeater prop and when you should use slots and subcomponents. And I think an accordion is a perfect example of this, okay? So if I go to layouts and I find our accordion, I refactored this to use a slot and subcomponents. It used to use an internal loop, but that's not flexible enough. So one question is, can something be used statically or dynamically? Either or. And a repeater prop makes the repeating of the items in an accordion. See this? This is, each one of these is an item. And you could use a repeater prop to do this, okay? But you would run into problems. You would run into limitations. One being, how do you loop it? So now you're in a situation where you need to have maybe a toggle switch between it supports a loop or it just acts as a repeater. That would be number one. And then that gets you into very advanced territory, like right off the bat. As you see here, I'm using an accordion component with a slot. Okay, I'm gonna open this accordion component. It is literally one element and a slot. That's all it is. One element and a slot. And all the JavaScript lives on that element. This is like the master component. It controls the behavior of everything inside of it. And then in the slot, you can put a nested component, okay? Or what we would call a subcomponent. And that subcomponent's job is to just be each item. And what this is this allows you to statically produce an accordion. See this? So I can have as many items as I want to. It itself, let's open this. What is it? It's an item with a header, okay, which has the button, the span, the icon, and then a panel with content. Now, you have to use this nesting of divs to support grid animation. So I'm using a new CSS approach to animating height using 0FR grids, but it does require an extra wrapper. So that's why you see a couple wrappers here. That's honestly, it's just required for the animation effect. But that's what this subcomponent is. But look, inside the inner, it has another slot. So the component, the master component has a slot where you put subcomponents, and then each subcomponent has a slot. Why does the subcomponent have a slot? Because now I'm not limited to what can be inside of the accordion as content. I can put images, I can put videos, I can put multiple paragraphs, single paragraphs, links, buttons, whatever I want to do, I can put in there, okay? So we're gonna go back to the front end. And so now you can see this is static. Like I can have as many items as I want. They can have whatever they want in them. No repeater required, okay? I just duplicate the subcomponents. Whoops, let me go back. And now you're like, well, Kevin, I actually want to loop through my content dynamically and build this dynamically. Okay. Right click, wrap and loop. Okay. So now I choose a loop source. I have 2 posts, so it's going to have 2. But literally I just go down to one accordion, one subcomponent, and I drop it in a loop and I choose my source and I map those dynamic data keys right into here. And I use my content key right here to just pull the content dynamically, okay? Or put in whatever I need to hear and whatever I need to have and pass the keys. So this gives me both methods. This gives me a static accordion or it gives me a loop. Want to go back to a static accordion? Take this out of the loop, duplicate a bunch of times, there's your static accordion. So this is a master component with a subcomponent using slots is the most flexible approach to a component like this. Could this be done with a repeater? Yes. Would it have limitations that this does not have? Yes. So knowing when to use a repeater and when to use subcomponents and slots, big distinction. You gotta know the difference. You gotta know the difference. Let me go back to chat in case you guys are doing follow-ups on this. Yeah, if you were gonna build a tabs component, 100% master component, subcomponents. Master components, subcomponents. Let's see. Where can I set light icon color in ACSS 4? There's only one icon color setting. Yeah. ACSS 4 uses color scheme to handle all alternates. Let me leave this as is. Okay, we'll take that away. Oh no, my mouse just died. Hold on. Do I have another one? Let's see. Oh, we got so lucky. I had a second magic mouse sitting right here. Okay, we're back in business. So I don't know. Maybe I can show you real quick. Okay, let's go into edit with Etch. Let's drop an icon in. We don't need that section. Let's go drop this here, SVG, and let's choose one. Let's do our double egg. Okay, there's our double egg SVG. So first things first, go to icons. Make sure your icon framework is on. You do want data icon, data attribute on the icon. Remember, automatic CSS doesn't just take over all the icons on your website. It takes over icons that have the data icon attribute, okay? So we put the data icon attribute on this SVG, which means in the icon framework, we should have control over various icon styles, right? You can have a boxed style or a plain style. So now your icons with data icon are going to be boxed, right? You come in here and you see icon color and we have text dark muted. What if I change this to red? The icon goes to red. So let's do text dark muted. Okay. Now let's say that the, let's try this. Let's go here. I don't use these very often. Okay. I don't know if scheme light, scheme dark. Let me go scheme inherit, dark, light. Do I have color scheme, generate reference tokens, light only, primary base, text dark muted? What is the color assignments? Text dark muted is using text dark is black. There's some inheritance things that we have to watch out for. Let me see if it's working here. Scheme dark. There we go. Okay. So, but what is my body color set to? White, neutral dark, neutral ultra dark, neutral light, neutral ultra light. That should all be fine. Scheme dark. This shouldn't do anything. Scheme light, that doesn't do anything. That's correct. Okay, so I'm trying to redo my brain because I don't actually do color scheme sites all that much. What we're running into right here is scheme dark is changing the things in here, but the background of this section is not changing. And there's one thing that you have to realize about color scheme, especially in the new era of color scheme. The reason nothing is happening to this section is this section has no background color. It literally has nothing to switch. And this is something you have to know about text and something you have to know about backgrounds specifically. That if this section had a background color, like my section, background, white, it's black. Why is it black? I told it to be white. Well, now it has a background color and it's being told to switch schemes. Okay. If I take this off, it's all going to go down. Okay. So if I go scheme dark, bang, it all seamlessly went. Why? Because it now has a background color that can actually switch. Okay. Before it didn't have a background color. What is it going to switch? There's nothing to switch, right? You're seeing the white of the body. Now this changes the white of the body, but doing scheme dark on a section does not affect the body, okay? So this section must have a background set in order for the scheme to be able to change. And this is kind of similar to the icons. If they are inheriting their color from the body, because a lot of text just inherits its color. And if it's inheriting its color from somewhere else that has not been told to change schemes, it will inherit a non-changed scheme color, right? So these are just some little caveats of this, but you can always come in and change the, so I just changed the scheme of the icon without changing the scheme of the section. So anytime you have a parent, you can do it at that level. You can do the entire section here, right? And then if you want to do it only here, you can do it only here. This is the flexibility of this system. But you do have to know the little edge cases of, oh, it doesn't even have a background set, so it's not going to change. It's not going to change. Yeah. Well, you have to have a second Magic Mouse because you can't charge them while you use them. So everybody that uses Magic Mouse knows you got to have two of those bad boys. But this is why we don't need an alternate color for icons, because you can just swap their scheme. You can just swap their scheme. Same with forms, same with cards. If you go to cards now, you'll notice background and foreground, there's no alt anymore. There's no alt anymore. You just set the background of your cards. Now you could literally change the scheme. Hold on, let me try this with icons too. See, I just told it I want all my icons to be dark by default. And so now this, without swapping its scheme, is dark by default. So the color scheme is doing the job of having an alt version, right? Now you could also use, if you want granular control on exactly how that's behaving, So let's say you wanted to control the actual color change here. You can actually use light dark functions inside of here. And so you could say, well, when it's light, I want them to be red. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. And when it's dark, I want them to be blue. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. So you literally still have granular control over both, over the output using, because the light dark function now is that's the Swiss Army knife. That's the like secret sauce, okay? To where you could get anything you wanted. Any output you could possibly want is possible with a light dark function. So this is way more flexible, way more powerful, way more efficient, way more clean. It just has the edge cases of, if you are doing a scheme change, you got to make sure that there's a color there to work with. You know, if it has no color, you're not going to see it do anything. All right, I got to get out of here, I think. My voice is going. I've got to get some lunch. Hopefully that answers your question. It looks like it did. He said, thanks. That's what I was looking for. Oh, yeah. The light. Oh, by the way, let me show you this. Very important. Very, very, very important. Okay. With light dark functions, you cannot do this. Okay. So once you've enabled, you go to color scheme, you enable color scheme support. That automatically, I'm going to show you the output. Very important to understand this. Here's the file. Look at every color as output in a light dark function. Okay, you guys see that? So you cannot do this. You cannot come into icons and do light dark and do var primary or var secondary or something like that, because you are now, these expand essentially to light dark functions. You're now putting light dark functions inside of light dark functions. That's not good. Don't do that. Don't do that. Well, if you want to do this, if you want to be able to do this, okay, it's one extra little step. You go color scheme, generate reference color tokens, save. Okay. Now let's go look. We inspect here. Okay, here's your palette. Here's all the light dark functions. But now we come down, reference palette for color scheme flexibility. You now have primary ref. Everything has a ref extension on it. And you're using the ref tokens to reference the literal OKLCH function now. Okay, so this is like essentially the output without light dark interfering. And you can actually get the reference color for every color and shade. Okay, and so you would come in here and you would use your light dark function. So you would go icons, light dark, primary ref, and secondary ref. This would work well. This would work well. So you just need to know that the reference tokens exist. And when you're using your own tokens, your own color tokens from ACSS in a light dark function, you need to use the reference tokens so that you're not nesting light dark functions inside of light dark functions. I don't know if it is. I don't know if Steve Jobs would have approved the bottom charger port. I don't know if Steve Jobs would have. This happened after Steve left. Okay, and this is what we get. You know, when you can't actually, when you get the Temu, you know, Steve Jobs. You get charger ports on the bottom of your mice. Should ref colors just be enabled by default if light dark is enabled? No, because you don't. I would say the amount of times I have to use light dark functions manually to do things is slim to none, and it's extra. It's a little extra weight. You know, we said that ACSS was going to be a 0 KB capable framework. Essentially, like you could literally just turn everything off and it will have a blank style sheet. It will output 0 KB. And so just kind of that principle is, hey, if I don't need reference tokens, why should I have to load them? You know, let's be able to offload them. And so, you know, there it is. The fact that they make you have to buy 2 is the most Apple shit. That actually, I mean, that could be the genius of it. You know, they were like, hey, if we, you know, they're so sycophantic that it's not like they're going to stop using our products. Let's just fuck them with the charger port, because you know what they'll probably do? Our internal research shows they'll just buy 2. They'll just buy 2. So let's do it. Let's keep doing it. I think that might have been the discussion. That might have been the discussion. So, and here I fucking am, aren't I? Their internal polling data was correct. Cause your boy's got mice, magic mice coming out his ears over here. Okay? I have so many magic mice. I don't know what to do. I don't even know which one works anymore. That's this one. Thank you. Okay. All right. I got to get out of here. I got to get some lunch. I love you guys. Thanks for showing up again. We'll be back again next week. Hopefully my cold will be much better by then. Wish me luck, okay? I also have to coach a softball game tonight. Don't know how that's going to go. All right. Peace. Love you.